At Hashem, Parachat Balak. So in the Torah, sometimes you find those interesting people, characters, right? In this week's Parashat Balak, there's two of them, which are very interesting, and there's a big lesson to learn at the end of this whole story. Balak and Bilam, right? Balak and Bilam, first of all, Balak and Bilam are not Jewish. Balak has the merit, the zchut, to have a parasha on his name, right? Bilam is the one seeking in 3 different times to curse the Jewish people, right? And the whole story over here, in the Torah, in the parasha, it says at the end, Balak is wishing himself, Tamot nafshi mot yesharim, he wishes to die like a Jew. But then, you look at the Gemara, you look in Masechet Gittin, Daf Nun Zayin, Amud Aleph, the Gemara says like this: Onkelos, the one who made the Targum Onkelos al Torah, he went to the kever, to the grave of Bilam, and he's asking him, what do you think, should I become Jewish? He wants to become Jewish, but he's scared, he has like doubts, yes, no. So he goes to, Bilam was like the prophet of the Goyim, of all the nations of the world. So he goes to his kever, le'avdil alfi avdalot. People go to kivrei tzadikim, to mishtateach, to ask bakashot, to ask tfilot, to ask all kinds of things, shiduchim, refuah, all things. He goes to the kever of Bilam. But why do you go to the kever? He wants to become Jewish, so why you go to the kever of Bilam? But because Bilam, by the eyes of the Goyim, he was like le'avdil alfi avdalot Moshe Rabbeinu. The Gemara says, לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, אבל באומות העולם קם. In Am Israel there was never a prophet like Moshe, there was never going to be one. But the Goyim did have one, Bilam. He had the same powers as Moshe Rabbeinu, just he preferred to do this for the bad. So Onkelos goes, and he's ma'ale oto, he's bringing him up, his neshama, he's bringing up in the kever, and he's asking him an advice. He told them, Ma Am Israel ba'olam haba. What are the Jewish people in the next world? Right? A lot of people, even Jews, lavdil, chas v'shalom, they say, who says yesh olam haba? Who tells you olam haba? Who came back from there? People, sometimes they speak like this, right? So he's asking him, you're already there, right? So what's going on there? Or he told him, yeah, the Jews were right. Whatever they say is right. There's olam haba, there is Gan Eden, there's Gehenna. He himself is in Gehenna, suffering, getting punished every day. Betzuah rotachat. They're like a pit full of excrement, boiling, and they make him dip every day, Bilam Arasha inside, right? So he's telling him, yeah, the Jews were right all those years. They know what they're talking about. So he tells him, what do you think about me? Should I convert? Should I become Jewish? He said, no, lo tidrosh shlomam v'tovatam kol hayamim. Don't become Jewish, leave it. What do you mean? You're just telling him there's Olam Haba, there's Gan Eden, there's Gehenna, you're punished in Gehenna, right? And what are you telling him as an advice? Don't convert, don't become Jewish. Right? So Chachmei Musar, they have a whole shmooze about this. And they say, you take your bad character, you carry and you take your bad characters to the next world. Means even the next world, you won't be able to get rid of them. To the point that Rav Lapian writes that even a person, he's giving an example. It was a story by the time of Rav Lapian. He said that the one time was a dibuk, went to a person. And this dibuk, this neshama that went into the other person as a dibuk, right? The other person started to ask for cigarettes. And this person that got the dibuk never smoked. So they asked the Rabbanim, what's pshat? He says, because the dibuk, the one that got the neshama that got into him was a smoker. So tell him, what do you mean? Olam haba, people smoke? What, there's cigarettes there? What's going on there? He says, yeah. There is cigarettes, there is, you want a cigarette there. But cigarettes don't exist there because this is something that you train yourself to have, and even olam haba, you cannot get rid of it. It's called a midah, right? It's a midah. So he says bad trait of characters do not go away; they stay with you. So Bilam, he sees the emet, he sees olam haba, he sees Gan Eden, he sees Gehenna, he sees everything is happening to tzaddikim, reshaim, and still he's able to give an advice to Onkelos not to convert. Why? Because this is the traits of character that he amassed in this world, and he cannot get rid of it. We're soon going to speak about what happened at the end of the story of this, but this is what is giving advice. Baruch Hashem, Onkelos did not listen to him. Onkelos did convert, and Onkelos wrote the Tirgum Onkelos al Torah, right? That we read every week, every Friday, Shnai Mikra ve'Echad Targum, right? So we are lucky we have Onkelos coming, converting, and writing this Targum. But I want to show you something interesting that I find in this parasha about those figures that we see in the parasha. Balak. The Gemara says in Orayot, Daf Yud Amud Bet, the Gemara says, Le'olam ya'asok Adam beTorah shelo lishma, shemetoch shelo lishma ba lishma. You should study Torah even if you have bad intentions. You want to become a Rav, so you can have kavod, you want to have money, whatever. You're not learning Torah lishma. You're not learning it because Hashem said to learn Torah, right? You should learn Torah. Mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. Who are we learning from it? We're learning this halacha from Balak. In this week's parasha, Balak is going to bring 42 korbanot, sacrifices to Hashem, right? And because of those korbanot, which were lo lishma, because he's trying to get rid of the Jews from his territory, right? Ba lishma, his sixth generation, right? His sixth generation, Ruth Amoavia Kemalve. So his grandson had a grandson, and the grandson had Ruth Amoavia. So it's 6 generations. Ruth Amoavia, David HaMelech came Ruth Amoavia. B'zchut David came Shlomo, and Shlomo was sacrificing 1,000 olot, 1,000 sacrifices when he inaugurated Bet HaMikdash. So if we go back with his ancestors, he brought 42 shelo lishma, and Shlomo would bring 1,000 lishma. So the Gemara is learning from that. Ta'asok b'Torah, learn Torah mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. This is what we learn from Balak. And this is probably why he had the zchut to have a parasha, because Ruth HaMoavia came out of him. Mashiach is coming out of him, right? Because he brought korbanot. Now, he wants to get rid of the Jewish people, but out of fear. But Lemaaseh, the 42 korbanot that he's bringing is for Hashem. He's bringing for Hashem, right? So yes, lo lishma, and look what comes out of it, right?
So could be ba lishma in many generations back?
Yeah. Look
Not
at
necessarily in your lifetime.
You never know. Look what happened. 6 generations down, and this is what happened. Now I want to show you something very interesting. Yesterday was the Hilula. Yesterday was the Yortzeit of Or HaChaim HaKadosh. He brings something pele. Only Or HaChaim HaKadosh can say such things. Means you won't find it in regular books. But Or HaChaim HaKadosh, he was known for his knowledge, for his chokhmah, for his kabbalah, for everything. Look what he says over here. Something interesting. Bilam, in the parasha, he's trying to curse the Jews. Hashem puts brachot in his mouth, right? And as he's blessing the Jews, he's blessing himself all of a sudden. Pitom, in the blessings, he inserts a blessing for himself. Tamot nafshi mot yesharim. Uti achariti kamo. He wants to die like a Jew, and he wants to have the final destiny like a Jew. We're going to understand soon what's final destiny. Acharit, right? Chafetz Chaim was mispale on that. He says, what do you mean? If you live like a Jew, you're going to die like a Jew, right? You want to be a goy and you want to die like a Jew? It doesn't work. Doesn't work, says the Chafetz Chaim. Okay? But he's blessing himself. Look what the Or HaChaim HaKadosh Omer. Mashu pele. He wants to die like a Jew. He wants to be killed by Jews. He wants to be killed by a Jew. Mapitom, to be killed by a Jew. He says, Baklipot, in the evil inclination, in the klipot, in those bad forces of evil, right? They have no tikkun because they're bad. Their only tikkun, he says, Al pima shekadam lanu mima'amare anshe emet, שאין לך קליפה בעולם שהם בה ניצוץ מהקדושה סוד המחיה אותה. The most evil thing in the world, person, animal, anything evil, has a ניצוץ, has a spark of kedusha. Without this spark of kedusha, of holiness, this evil cannot exist. It must have a spark of kedusha. It's a very small spark. The evil is full of it, means the evil is full of evil, but it is a small spark of kedusha. Says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, הוא אומר, if, right, כשבעליו נהרג על ידי ישראל, if this evil thing, let's say a person, is killed by a Jew, he says, הניצוץ הטוב ההוא מתברר, ולפעמים ידבק בו אם הוא נקי בלי פסולת. This spark gets caught on the Jew that killed it, right? And then it will move on till becoming pure again. So Bilam, הוא אומר, תמות נפשי מות ישרים, he wishes that Am Yisrael is going to kill him at the end. Why? Because if Am Yisrael is going to kill Bilam, his neshama is going to have a tikkun. The spark of holiness that is in neshama is neshama, as bad as he was. To the point Chachamim tell us, in one of the prophecies he says, Ne'uma gever shtuma ayin, one of his eyes was poked. And the Chachamim say Hashem poked his eyes b'chavana because he was saying something inappropriate towards Hashem. So Hashem poked out his eye. So, but the Chachamim say, you know why Hashem poked out his eye and not cut off his ear or something like this? Because he was so evil, there was no place to give him nevuah of kedusha. In order to be able to give him the nevuah, all the blessings he's about to say to Am Yisrael with nevuah, with prophecy, you must have a place. The Shekhinah has to come down somewhere on him. But he's so impure, there's nowhere to... So Hashem poked out his eye, so the Shekhinah can come into his eye, to the hole over there, to the place, the hole over there, because now it's hollow, and the Shekhinah could reside and give the nevuah. Ne'uma gever shtum ha'ayin, the one who got poked his eye. Right? So he's so evil, but there's still a spark. He knows. He has a spark of Kedusha, which he cannot bring it out. So the only say is Matzinu b'divrei Mekubalim, right? Says the Mekubalim says he wished to be killed by the Jews, like it's going to say in next week's Parachat Pinchas. Vet Bil'am ben Beor argu bnei Israel becharev. Bil'am ben Beor was killed by a sword, and even the sword over there was a special sword, right? The whole story, but he was killed by the sword, right? And Amru Mekubalim ki nefesh shel Bil'am ba'a בחמורו של רבי פנחס בן יאיר, וזה יורה שנתקן באחריתו. Bil'am went in reincarnations, and he ended up being reincarnated into the chamor of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, to the donkey of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, which was, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair was the father-in-law of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. This donkey was so special in the eyes of Chachamim. What did they say? Im rishonim kemalachim. If the first generation were like angels, anachnu kebnei adam. We are like people, normal people. Im rishonim, if you consider the old generations like regular people, if you consider Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Meir Bar Anes, all those Chachamim, like people, anachnu kahamorim. We are like donkeys. And the Gemara says, 1 second, vafilu lo kehamoro shel Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. So it comes out the chamor shel Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair overpasses in his level Bnei Adam, regular people, right? And who is this chamor, the chamor of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair? Nishmato shel Bil'am shenitkan ba'acharito. He came to his destined to be, his neshama came to repair itself, right? וגם שמת על ידי ישראל, התלבן בגלגולים ועמד עד שבא לאתונו של רבי פנחס בן יאיר. פלא. He got the tikkun for his neshama. Why? Because in the midst of all this trying to curse and blessing, he blesses himself. And what does he say? תמות נפשי מות נשארים, תהיה אחריתי כמוהו. Right? And his blessing got accomplished. He got something out of his blessing, right? So it's Pele. Balak is trying to get rid of the Jews. He's getting Ruta Moaviyah. Bilam, he's trying to curse us. He's trying to do everything against us. He gets to be, okay, Chamor. But Chamor shel Pinchas ben Yair, which the Gemara says is a ma'ala more than Bnei Adam regilim, right? So you see the figures that says in Torah, it's not stam. But what's this? Mitoch shelo lishma, ba lishma. Right? You start to do things, lo lishma, but it comes lishma. So how much kal vachomer, right? How much kal vachomer is for us, right? Sometimes you don't feel like you want to learn, right? So you know what you do? You take the sefer, you open it, so you should look like you're learning. You know, it's not nice to sit and do nothing. You open a sefer, right? Maybe you read the line, but it's lo lishma, nachon? But it's going to end up lishma. It's kacha. ככה טבע הדברים. This is the nature of things. The nature of things that if the Gemara is teaching us this from Balak, and look what happened, we got to Mashiach, we got to the level of Mashiach. Mashiach ben David is coming out of him, right? Balak. So kal vachomer for a Jew, right? So always, sometimes you say, why should I do it? Sometimes you say, it looks like hypocrite. It looks like hypocrisy, right? It doesn't make a difference. This, what do you think? It looks like hypocrisy of that. This is atzat yetzirah. The Mesilas Yesharim speaks about this, and he says, Yetzirah is telling you, don't do that. What, are you a hypocrite? Right? But this Mesilas Yesharim says, this is the Eitzah of Yetzirah. He's giving, don't do it. And when you're not going to do it, he's going to pull you to the other side. So just the opposite. Do sometimes, be an hypocrite. Right? Be an hypocrite. Do things that you don't think it's not fair to do this, but you know what? Mitoch shelo lishma. You're going to end up doing things lishma, right? And look, we have two proofs in this week's parasha of two reshaim, right? Of Sonei Israel. They want to do bad to Israel, right? Look what happens. So to tell you, there's no such thing that at the end is not gam turis tikkun. But with all that, the neshama of Bilam, okay, he's going to be reincarnated in Chamo Benchis Meir, but as the Chaim Kosh says, it didn't happen overnight. It's not something that happened overnight. He was killed and he turned to Rabbi Chaim. No, it says over here clearly. It says v'utzrach litlaben bigilgulim v'libunim. So he had to go through Gehenna, like the Gemara says that Onkelos brought him from Gehenna to ask him, right? He had to go few gilgulim. At the end of the day, he got up to Chamo Bichas Meir. But don't think it happened overnight. It's not like magic. He died and he became a Chamo. And Chamo Bichas Meir. For sure it didn't happen. But we see through his gilgulim, through his thing, the Gemara is teaching us he took his bad trait of characters with him. Right? So to tell you, you have to watch out. That's why they say, one day, the Chafetz Chaim, he used to give a sicha every Friday after the Shabbos meal, right? Every Shabbat meal, after the Shabbat meal, his Talmidim would come to him. So they would eat the meal in the yeshiva. 2 hours later, they would come to the Chafetz Chaim, he would give a sicha, right? He would give sichat Musar and the Parsha and all kinds of things. One time, the Chafetz Chaim told the Bachor, the Bachor used to take care of the calling the boys and everything. He told them, this Shabbat, this Friday night, I'm not going to give the sicha 2 hours after Shabbat. I'm going to give it 2 o'clock in the morning. Whoever wants to come should come. But today, because I'm about to reveal a big secret, so I'm doing it 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure not everybody's be able to attend. So only Yechidis Gula want to hear a secret of the Torah. Let him come 2 o'clock. As the boy, the Bachor, went to tell this to the Bachurim, the news spread all over town. The Chafetz Chaim is about to tell us big secret 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody took a small nap. The whole town, the Migadol Vad Katan, men, ladies, kids, everybody said, if he's about to say a big secret, the Chafetz Chaim, something unusual, 2 o'clock in the morning, we have to be there. They say half an hour before he's about to say the Sikha, the street was full of people. Everybody, Shah. They want to hear the Chafetz Chaim. They want to hear. Everybody climbed on windows. Everybody tried to catch a good place to hear the Sikha. Comes 2 o'clock, the Chafetz Chaim enters the room and he opens the Siddur. He takes the Siddur and he opens it. He says, Rabotai, I'm about to tell you a big secret. He says, what? He says, every morning when we wake up, we say Birchot HaShachar, right? And we say the third beracha, Al Netilat Yadayim, right? We say Netilat Yadayim, and then we say Elokai Neshama Shenatata Bi Teorah. אתה בראתה, אתה יצרת, אתה נהפכת בי, ואתה משמרך בי, ואתה עתיד להחזירה בי לעתיד לבוא. So the Chafetz Chaim points out the word להחזירה has mapik he. What's mapik he? In the he, there's a dot. So באמת, in the grammar, it's like להחזיר אותה. As if you want to say להחזיר אותה. So instead of saying להחזיר אותה, we take a dot, we put in the hey, and we say להחזירה. This is a grammatical rule, which is very important to Kriya of Torah for many things, right? So it's a very important rule. right? So it's a Mapik Hey it's a very important. Says the Chafetz Chaim is asking a question. Why do we say La Chazira with Mapik Hey? Lachzir Ota? Comes the Chafetz Chaim, says, the big secret I have to tell all of you is the following. If you acquire bad traits of character, ba'olam hazeh, don't think after you pass away from this world and you're going to go, maybe because of your maisim, you go to Olam Haba, or maybe you're going to go to Gan Eden, then come to Olam. Doesn't make a difference. Don't think you're going to get rid of bad traits of character. They're going to come back with you. When they're going to come back with you, even at the time of Mashiach. Ulachazira bi le'atid lavo. In the future to come, when Mashiach is going to come, you're going to get back the same neshama, says the Chafetz Chaim. Don't think you're going to get a better neshama. You're not going to get a better neshama. You are the one to make your neshama. You're forming, right, your neshama. And if you're going to amass in this world bad traits of character, ulachazira bi le'atid lavo. That was the big secret that the Chafetz Chaim wanted to say 2 o'clock in the morning in the shtetl over there, right? To tell people, watch out. You better fix everything in this world. Because going to the next world and coming back, don't think you coming back, it's a new scenario. No, it's you. It's your neshama, it's you. This is you means basically you make your neshama. Your neshama is you. You make it, right? So if you have any bad trait of characters, right? If you're a smoker, if this, if that, everything is going to come back, right? And what's going to happen if you're a smoker and there's no cigarettes in time of Mashiach? There's not going to be no cigarettes coming. Right? It's going to be tzar, right? You're going to want to smoke. It's like the dibuk, right? That was asking for cigarettes when it's a dibuk. So yeah, it's bad things.
The Lorak Midas rose, habits.
Habits, bad habits. Bad habits, midat Torah, all those things you carry with you. You bring it to Olam Haba and you're coming back with them. Right? You don't get rid of them. So how much more? That's why the Chafetz Chaim, a lot of Baal Musar, they worked on their midot. They tried to work very much on their midot. Why? Because they knew that Olam, the next world, you're going to come back as you. Right? It's very interesting. The Rabbi Ish Chai is an interesting question. We all know, this is the Arizal says, since 500 years ago, every neshama that comes down to this world is a Gilgul. Some people came down here 2 times, some people came down here 3 times, right? Everything is a Gilgul. So the Rabbi Yishai is asking a question. When Mashiach is going to come, it's going to be Tchiat HaMetim. Your neshama is going to give him back to the goof. Which one of the 3 gufim? If you're here down 3 times, so which goof is going to be chosen, right? Some say, the most metukan. Let's say in the first Gilgul you're not religious, the second one you're semi-religious, and the third one you're really religious, went to yeshiva, yeah? So only the third body, which was the most metukan, right, most perfect out of the 3 Gilgulim, is going to get up. The Rabbi Nishchai, he has a book called Aderet Eliyahu, right? Over there writes, but it's not fair. Even though the first and the second, the third, let's say the first you did 20% mitzvot, the second one did 50%, and the third one 100% mitzvot, but the 2 first bodies did help you. So he brings an interesting thing. He says, Ledato, all 3 bodies are going to get up, and the neshama is going to divide into 3. And all 3 bodies are going to get up, right? So imagine you're going to have the same neshama, 3 different bodies, and 3 different traits of characters. One is going to do this, and the other one is doing that. But you're the same person. You're the same, it's the same shoresh neshama. So that's why it's important if you metaken the shoresh, if you repair the root, right? You metaken all 3, because this neshama is going to divide into 3. So it's important. It's a big musar from this week's Parachat to tell you, even the biggest reshaim, they found their tikkun at the end. And not only tikkun, one of them was even zochet that Mashiach, dynasty of Mashiach is going to come out of him, right? So if goy, kal vachomer Yehudi, right? Kal vachomer Yehudi, right? So to tell you, Rabotai, we have to work on our midot. And we should know, mitoch shelo lishma, ba lishma. Even though you don't feel, my Rosh Yeshiva used to say always, sometimes you don't feel like learning. So he used to say, people, sometimes you ask him, do you want to eat? He says, no, I'm full. So he used to say, with the when you taste something, with the essen kim da appetit. Yeah. When you taste something, all of a sudden your appetite opens, and you say, okay, no, let's go. Yeah, but you didn't feel like hungry before, but just you tasted. And David HaMelech says, Ta'amu uru. Taste and see, not Hashem. So always we should we should try to do even minimal, but we should know, מתוך שלא ישמע, it's going to end up לשמע. אור אדוני לעולם, אמן ואמן.